Hi everybody, thanks for watching Music Talks again with Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. We are here in Morgantown, West Virginia, just outside of West Virginia University at Booz Alley's home of Mon Hills Records. And today we have a very special guest with us. We have our newest artist who is recording her project and will soon be out into the world and introducing herself. But she's going to introduce herself to you today. This is Lillie King. She is a 17-year-old singer-songwriter from Lewisburg, West Virginia, and newest rising artist. How are you, Lillie?
I'm amazing, thank you.
Good to have you in Morgantown again.
Happy to be here.
We have a few crazy days of photo shoots and interviews and getting the album together and recording a music video that we did yesterday. Yeah. We had a very long day.
Very long day.
So let's just start back where it all began for the project that you're in right now in this process of introducing your first album to the world, and that was when we met back at Talent West Virginia, which was April of 2019, so just last year.
Yeah.
And Talent West Virginia was a chance for West Virginia artists of all ages to come and share some of their music and hopefully win anywhere from, I think it was some money or a record deal, and that was, you were our winner for that day.
Yeah, I was.
So talk a little bit about what that day was like for you and the decision to compete and come up to Morgantown, and what was it like?
Oh, well, that day was awesome. It kind of happened by chance though, because my director at the theater I was at told me about Talent West Virginia, and I said I wasn't going to do it, and then my dad threatened to just submit a video of me anyways, so I was like, all right, don't do that, I'll do something and then we'll get it over with. So I submitted it, and I didn't think anything of it, and then I got the email that I was in the show, and I was like, okay, well, I'll take a day and I'll go up, and it'll be fun. I haven't performed in that setting in a long time. So we went up, I sang Sinatra of all things, and I was not expecting to win in any way at all, but it happened, and I'm so glad it did, because now we're here.
And I know it blew everybody out of the water that day, especially in, such an all ages type of competition, anything from, kids to all the way up to musicians that have been playing for decades, and they're playing the same stuff since they were 20, and maybe they're in their 50s now, and but then here comes Lillie King singing this beautiful it was a piano ballad. You were accompanied that day.
Yeah, it was jazz, and it was big band style, but we did it with just me and my pianist, and it worked out.
Yeah, and 17-year-old Lillie King won the whole thing.
Yeah.
What did it feel like to, introducing yourself and your music into the music industry now, and working in this project and being so young? What does that feel like? Not that, in a way, it's like age doesn't matter, right? Like you can come into this at any point.
Yeah, not in this world.
But you're still in high school. You're still finishing school. Thinking about what's next after school, but also at the same time, getting into your first project,
right,
and taking music seriously. What does that feel like?
Well, it's being so young, it has its advantages. It does, but it has a lot of disadvantages. I mean, you get looked at in a different way when you're younger. Not always because people don't think you can do it, but it's like, does she have the stamina to do something like that? Does she have the capability of, doing something like that for a long period of time? Or is it one of those teenage dreams that'll just burn out super quickly? So I hadn't started writing music actually and getting in the real music world until I won last year. I mean, I've really only been doing this for a year, because obviously I sang a Frank Sinatra cover, and then when I got the EP deal, I was forced to write my own music, and I hadn't done that before. But once I started, it was like, well, yeah, this is what I want to do.
So really the competition gave you the transition into songwriting.
It did. It absolutely did.
Wow.
I don't think I would have been doing this otherwise if I hadn't done the competition. I mean, I was planning on going, straight into the theater world after high school, and that's just not the case anymore.
That's so great.
Yeah, it really is.
So it's interesting because I think, most singer-songwriters come out of, I had a childhood of writing music, and, all of these, I wrote music as a kid and growing up, but to come as a vocalist and a trained musician and a trained, artist on stage, and now coming into the studio, it's not that's not the case, which is cool because it gives you a different, I think it gives you a different edge to your writing, especially, this first batch of songs that you're releasing on this project is really storytelling and very narrative and very, but more than anything, a vocal powerhouse, really.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd say that your time growing up in theater was really a testament to that, would you?
Oh, yeah. Well, this is kind of an odd way to put it, but growing up in the theater, I was a trained soprano, and I was all the Disney princesses, so I was used to singing this beautiful music, singing it super high, and, playing the good girl, and my voice, naturally, I want to be the powerhouse, and I want to belt, and I want to be loud. So since I couldn't really do that in theater, because that's not my type, and in theater you do have a type, but when you're making your own music, if I want to sing powerhouse, I can sing powerhouse. I'll just write it that way. And that's what I loved so much. It's like I could finally sing what I wanted to sing instead of singing what someone else wanted me to sing.
Definitely. And stripping back that, the script and the staging of a musical or a production. And what was it like coming into the studio then and switching the mentality from who's the director, who do I look to for, what's my line, to, okay,
oh my gosh,
Lillie King, welcome to the studio. What are we doing today? This is your project.
It was impossible. And I'm sure you remember when I first got here, it was a whole new world for me because I'm used to saying, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, I will do this, I will do exactly what you say, getting all my direction, doing exactly what they tell me, singing the right songs, saying the right lines. And then I got here and it's like, I make the decisions. I decide how the song gets to be sung. I decide what words I'm singing. And I wasn't used to that. I was still looking at you and Chris out in the studio. It's like, what do I do? Yeah. You tell me what to do. I'll do anything. It's like, that's not how it works. And I had to get used to that. And I'm still getting used to that. So.
Yeah, and I remember bringing in musicians and having those first couple of recording sessions, and we'd have a take, and we'd say, "Okay, Lillie, what'd you think of that? How do you feel?" And kind of just getting that, that deer in the headlight moment of wait,
I have to make this decision,
or I have a say.
Right. Oh my gosh, it's crazy, and it's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
But it's kind of terrifying because it's in your hands what you make, and it's not in someone else's.
And I think we transitioned after that to the point, because you came in so fresh and new to this, and had that transition of mentality, but also it didn't take long for it to click.
No.
I think that once, we saw that moment of you getting comfortable and that confidence of realizing oh, this is my music and this is my sound and my project and my journey, that I think that we really saw the blossoming of that confidence and comfortability in your own music.
Yeah, I think deep down I'm kind of a bossy person. I always love to be the head of group projects and be the mind of everything. So I think it was once I realized that I could do that here, I got really excited. And I was like, okay, yeah, I like this.
Definitely. And we had moments, as anybody would in the studio, bringing their own music in where it was like, hey, what if we put this chord on it, or what if we do this instead? And you knew, from the beginning, even though this was a new chapter and a new process for you, when you heard something you didn't like or it wasn't what you wanted, you were the first person to say, I like it, I appreciate it, but no, that's not what I want, which I think is something that some people take, years and careers to do.
It's so hard. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. And I had a hard time doing it when I first got here because I appreciate all kinds of art. And I know other people hear things differently than I do. And I know a beautiful song can be created and it can sound completely different to what I imagined. So finding the balance between letting other people make those creative decisions based on what they hear and making my own creative decisions based on what I had heard when I wrote the song it's kind of hard to find that balance because you want to do both because you have to have more than one perspective, as we've learned. But yeah, that's not easy.
And through these 6 songs, so we have 5 recorded, which is, and looking at it as what do you want the sound to be, and because it is important to remember that through this first project you were finding your sound in the midst of it.
Oh yeah.
Like any artist would as they're starting out. And, you know, we got to the end of these 5 songs, which we all agreed were gorgeous and beautiful and right where we wanted them, but it was missing something.
It was missing something.
Yeah.
Completely. We didn't have that upbeat moment that I feel like everyone should have, but I personally found it super hard to write an upbeat song. I can crank out ballads all the time, but you know, writing that upbeat, happy song, it's really hard. And when I first came in the studio, I only had 2 songs written. And so we're up to 5 or 6 now, but like I had 2 songs written when we started. So, you know, when you say we really were finding my sound as we went, we really were finding my sound as we went. So yeah. Yeah, and I'm just like thinking back to those 5 songs that we had recorded, and you know, with the new song, it does offer almost. We said, all right, Lillie, let's try to find an upbeat tempo, but then you came into it with ideas of influences, and I think that's important because I think that people can say we need a hit or a single or a fast song and just do something quickly for the sake of filling that void. Mm-hmm. But you really honed into, well, I wanted something that was, you know, fun and danceable, but also still meaningful. And you did put effort into your lyrics when you still wrote it. Mm-hmm. But then you threw out the influence of, what was it? Jackson 5.
Jackson 5,
Jackson 5. I love Jackson 5. I did a Jackson 5 song in my last show. I love them.
Yeah. And that was fun to work with because, and we're actually recording it today. We
really are.
It's quite a busy day.
Yes.
But I think it's fun to then tie it to, you know, it's not just to throw some, you know, new commercial pop song onto it for sake of making it like relevant in the industry or whatever, yep. Or letting it sit next to what's currently out there, but it still fits with your kind of timeliness of a sound that is, you know, within all of your other songs, yeah. In a ballad format, right. And bringing this, you know, almost vintage soul fun, you know, style.
Which is my favorite style. I mean, it's what I wanted to achieve. But you really do have to have the upbeat to really achieve that sound. And so when we recorded Tupelo Honey, the Van Morrison cover,
which will be on the project.
Which is on the project. It wasn't until I heard the kind of the final version with all of the horns in it that I was like, I want horns and everything. That's what I want. Okay, every song needs to have horns now. And that's like why, that was my inspiration for writing Red. It's like, I want to write a song that we can put all the horns on because I just want to hear that again. Yeah. Because I loved that sound. So, you know, from here on out, I might always have that in the back of my mind, and that could transform my music. You know, it's just kind of learning from that.
So let's talk about the 4 originals that you do have. Finding that writing process for you so early on, but also on a time crunch. Were there any moments through writing those that stuck out, or any of those tracks that you wrote that really had, you know, special meaning or anything like that?
Well, with all of the songs I write, I can't force them. If I force them, I'm not going to like them. And if it takes me too long to write them, as bad as that sounds, I end up not using them, or I just kind of put them away. The way that I know I'm going to love a song is if I get the idea and within the next 30 minutes to an hour, I have a song. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but if I can sit down and I can fully flesh it out right then, that's how I know. It's like, okay, I love this song. So all of the songs that are going to be on the EP happened in that, you know, 30-minute to an hour time frame. And specifically writing Roses. So that was the last original that we put on that first group of songs. And I was coming up to Morgantown, like, it was like a week away, and I still didn't have you guys a new song that I had promised. And I was so stressed out. I was like staying up late trying to write these songs. And I was trying to force it, and I can't do that because, I don't know.
It just doesn't work that way.
It doesn't flow that way.
Right.
So, and this, I feel like this happens with all my songs, but the line came to my head when the lights go down at the end of the show, where do all your roses go? Which, you know, part of that was like, the theater moment, obviously, with all of that. So when I had that line, I thought it was beautiful, but I was like, well, what does that mean? So I have this like note document with all of these random lines written in it, like random rhyming lines that don't really mean anything. They're very metaphorical. Yep. They can kind of fit into anything. And I looked through all of them and I picked out like 7 of those lines that I was like, oh, these are kind of cool and they kind of go together. So then I put them all together. I put the same melody over them to fit with the song. And then, then I had like half a song, maybe. So then I read through it and I sang through it and I was like, well, how can I finish this song and make all of these lines make sense together? So then we made it to, when the lights go down at the end of the show, where do all your roses go? The original line is, where do all the roses go? So we changed it to making it very personal, talking about a person. And then all of these metaphors and the rest of the song completely fell into place after that. And I think I sent it to you guys with like 3 days to spare, and I'm so happy I got it done. And that's my favorite song now.
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes that's just the way it works. Sometimes those last ones that you get in crunch time in the moment, you're like, I need something, I've been putting this off, or it hasn't come yet.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. And the same thing happened with Birdie, which is a new song that we just tried out yesterday for the first time. I was on my way back from Nashville, and I had the idea of Birdie in my head because I love the name Birdie, and I had always wanted to write like a narrative love story, and so I had the names Birdie and Henry, and in the car where some of the best writing happens, I wrote this song, and 2 days later we sang it yesterday. So it all happens quick.
It does. And Roses specifically, I think turned out to be such a great recording and such a powerful song.
Very.
That's what led itself to a music video.
Yeah.
So what was it like literally just yesterday, taking Roses, putting it on stage? We had dancers, we had multi-camera shots, we had somebody come in for lighting, and in the Metropolitan Theater in downtown Morgantown, to really fit the narrative of Roses and after a show and, being in the theater. What did it feel like to put all of that on stage?
Well, Roses is like, it has so much imagery in it. Again, with the metaphors, and when you listen to the song, all these beautiful pictures pop into your head. So also, I think the beat and the way that the song was produced and everything, it really lended itself to the dancing. There's this beautiful middle section where it was just begging for someone to dance to it because there's no words. So putting all of that on stage finally and actually visualizing what I was visualizing in my head while we were recording it was so cool. Watching the dancers actually singing the song, it was really fun and really beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to turn out to be a really beautiful way to visually introduce the project.
I think so too.
Yeah. Well, we've got a few songs to sing today. After all this talk about the beautiful lyrics and all these songs that we've put together, I think it's time to introduce some of those sounds and share a couple songs. So let's take a commercial break, and then when we get back, we will have a few songs with Lillie King. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning back with us on Music Talks on the Armstrong Neighborhood channel. We are still here with Lillie King, and she's going to share a few songs with you, so please enjoy Lillie King.
All right. This is one of my songs off of the new EP called Roses. When the lights go down at the end of the show, where do all your roses go? Do your hands get cold when you walk away from the person you were yesterday? Do you feel like crying to another sad duet? Is it always in your interest to bet instead of check? Are you always in the background of the movie in your mind? Do you like stranger to make up for lost time. When the lights go down at the end of the show, where do all your roses go? When the lights go down at the end of the show, where do all your roses go? Will you remember me when you walk away from the person you were yesterday? Do you see me when you're dreaming? Am I there when you're awake? Or will I be the only chance you didn't take? Do you hear the better angels that call out in your head? Or do you not believe and walk away instead? When the lights go down at the end of the show, where do all your roses go? When the lights go down at the end of the show, where do all your roses go? When the lights go down at the end of the show, where do all your roses go? When the lights go down at the end of the show, where do all your roses go?
All right. That was Roses, and next is a new song I wrote in the last week called Birdie, which is a narrative story about a young girl named Birdie and a young boy named Henry.
Birdie was a sweet girl, never went far. She kept all her money in a mason jar and stopped the car to pick flowers by the road. Henry was young and looking for a start, a man in stature but a boy in heart, smarter than the rest, and he always tried his best to win Birdie's hand. Rocks on her window, she could hear him outside. She opened the curtain, there he stood, and in the night he cried, I love you, Birdie, and always have. No one knows me like you do, and it's bad enough that I'm on the right side of broken, I'm on the left side of you. No one knows me like you do. Birdie caught his eye in the summer one day. He looked at her once and couldn't look away when she danced with dandelions in her hair. Henry knew she was a fragile soul, but no one is made from a perfect mold, and she fell in love with something she saw. He kept all his money in a mason jar. He threw rocks on her window, she could hear him outside. She opened the curtain, there he stood, and in the night he cried, I it's bad enough that I'm on the right side of broken. I'm on the left side of you. No one knows me like you do. What if fate was this boy in blue? Something old, but it feels so new. She'd regret it if she didn't try. So in the night she cried, I love you, Henry, and I always have. No one knows me like you do, and I'm glad you came, 'cause you're on the home stretch of broken, and I will stand by you. No one knows me like you do. I love you, Birdie, and I always have. No one knows me like you do, and it's bad enough that I'm on the right side of broken. I'm on the left side of you. No one knows me like you do. This next song is called Home by 10. It's one of my older ones, also off of the EP. And this is kind of an autobiography of myself in a way, so which made it very fun to write. When I say I'm tired, I usually wanna go. When I'm feeling lonely, I never let you know. When I say I'm sorry, well, that's not always true. When I tell you not to call, I wanna talk to you, and I'm no callous soul. I dream in gold, and I lie every now and then, but I'm always home by 10. When I talk about you, I'd never tell a lie. When I say I love you, there's 100 reasons why. I chase the ends of rainbows to find the unknown. Sometimes I look for trouble if I feel alone, but I'm no callous soul. I dream in gold, and I lie every now and then, but I'm always home by 10. I have sunlight when the moon is high. I see color when it's black and white. I'm seated on a modest throne. I'm the last light on when the day is done, but I'm no callous soul. I dream in gold, and I lie every now and then, but I'm always home by 10. I'm no callous soul. I dream in gold, and I lie every now and then, but I'm always home by 10. I'm always home by 10. I'm always home by 10. This last song is called Red. We haven't recorded it yet. We're doing that later today, actually. This is the song we mentioned that has kind of those Jackson 5 inspired roots. Very upbeat, which is kind of odd considering the content of it. But this is definitely one of my favorites. I hate to see you go, but it's harder yet to say that I can't forgive you and I won't forget. It's the point of no return. You said what you said. The fire burned and the water turned red. I wanted to leave, but I had nowhere to run. You're like Russian roulette with a fully loaded gun. And my favorite side is when you walk out that door. So once you leave, don't come back no more. I hate to see you go, but it's harder yet to say that I can't forgive you and I won't forget. It's the point of no return. You said what you said. The fire burned and the water turned red. Red, 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 red. Yeah, my heart was broken, it was something so frail. I never wanna be the one to meet the devil you hail. The violets on the other side aren't always blue, 'cause any field is greener than the one next to you. And I hate to see you go, but it's harder yet to say that I can't forgive you and I won't forget. It's the point of no return. You said what you said. The fire burned and the water turned red. Red, 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 red. I hate to see you go, but it's harder, yeah. I hate to see you go, but it's oh so hard. I hate to see you go, but it's harder, yeah. I hate to see you go, but it's harder. I hate to see you go, but it's harder yet to say that I can't forgive you and I won't forget. It's the point of no return. You said what you said. The fire burned and the water turned red. Red, 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 red. Perfect. All right. Well, my name is Lillie King, and thank you for listening to me today.